say, now you be one mama, one mama, oh. Come on, let's do it now. My baby, my fine baby, my baby, my sweet mama. Let me tell you something about this, my sweet mama. The only woman who give it me to grow and make me a man. Thank you, for the love you showed me. Without you, my bamenda, I know for the exist. Thank you, my bamenda. Thank you, my homeland. God bless you, my mama. For the strength you said for your children. I am proud of you, you are rich. I am proud of you, you are strong. You defeat the whole Cameroon like Africa in the one leg. My bamenda, my fine baby. My bamenda, my sweet mama. Some people say you too small to change the country. Others say you know big good for make things work. But just a name in this country, people them they shiver. The way we are picking them, they also people them they wonder. Thank you, my bamenda. Thank you, my homeland. God bless you, my mama. For the strength you said for your children. I am proud of you, you are rich. I am proud of you, you are strong. You defeat the whole Cameroon like Africa in the one leg. My bamenda, my fine baby. My bamenda, my sweet mama. My brothers and sisters all over the world, whatever you do, always think about your home. It's a place where you will come back some days. Let's clean it up, let's build it, love. Thank you, my bamenda. Thank you, my homeland. God bless you, my mama. For the strength you said for your children. I am proud of you, you are rich. I am proud of you, you are strong. You defeat the whole Cameroon like Africa in the one leg. My bamenda, my fine baby. My bamenda, my sweet mama. All the hardworking sons and daughters of this great northwest region of Cameroon, I want you to stand up and dance, because the time has come when we have to put our heads and hands together in order to build this our lovely and only region. For your children, I am proud of you, you are rich. I am proud of you, you are strong. You defeat the whole Cameroon like Africa in the one leg.
Ladies and gentlemen, I was supposed to be joined here by some of my comrades, but unfortunately they're having some technical difficulties. We intended to have a pre-analysis of the president's upcoming speech, end of year speech. As you all know, our revolution is about 3 years old now, and I just want to take this opportunity to commend all my brothers and sisters who have put their hearts into this revolution. And I can see that Comrade Nilong just joined. Comrade Nilong, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, Comrade Ate, Director of Cabinet.
Thank you so much.
Fellow Ambazonians, televiewers of the ABC Amba Television, you are welcome today, the 31st of December 2019. We have some few hours to the end of 2019. That have been a great year for our revolution. We want to really thank God. And some other places, as of now, it's already New Year. It's already 2020. But maybe in Africa, in America, Europe, but China and Australia have already experienced 2020. So with me on set today is the Director of Cabinet of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, Mr. Eric Ate. We just want to, we're supposed to also be with Comrade Dr. Yaya Fournier, your predecessor, who took over you as the press secretary. Yeah, your successor, who took over you as a press secretary. So, Mr. Eric Ate, Director of Cabinet, let's just go straight into it. Now, well, the pre-speech analysis is just to predict, to like, what do you think? What are your expectations? What do you expect from this speech tonight? After a lot of happenings, we have a lot at the level of defense, at the level of education, at the level of diplomacy, at the level of communication. I mean, virtually at every level of this revolution, we have had a lot of ups and downs. What do you expect in brief? Let's just get your general overview, then we'll touch some small angles before we go out.
Thank you, Paul. I think the president has always given priority to our men and women on Ground Zero who have made us so proud, who have been putting their lives on the line to defend our nation. I think he would like talk a little bit about that and really commend them for the wonderful job that they are doing. And I think he's also going to talk about our diplomatic successes. You know, the president has embarked on diplomacy. Lately, he went to, just recently, he just came back from Brazil, where we saw a city in Brazil recognize Amazonia. That was quite a shock to a lot of people. I've been working with the president now for quite some time. And the one thing I want to say is he's a man who does things very quietly. He's a gentleman, and I know he's going to come out and elaborate more on what he has been doing in the background and talk about the prospects of us seeing more successes coming down the road. I predict that he's also going to touch on certain aspects of our revolution, like encouraging people to come in and contribute into our revolution and make sure that we finish this fight. Like going back to defense, I think our boys have been doing such a wonderful job. But if we deny the fact that our people have not been doing enough, they've been doing a lot, but I think the president is going to try to galvanize support from our people in order to help us bring, what the kind of support that our people on Ground Zero who are barely, making it can really have. It's really hard to come out and say, hey, the president is going to say this, but I'm just kind of like speculating, like, oh, maybe he will say this. But given the fact that I know his line of thinking, I think he's going to focus more on defense. He's going to focus on diplomacy, and he's going to focus on encouraging us as a people to actually put our backs into it and see that our country is free.
Yeah, let us talk about 2020. Now, this after his inauguration, he made his first speech. I call it a policy speech. Now this is it will be his biggest. I don't know if we put it his policy speech. Do you expect a change in his policy, or do you expect a stagnant policy that is continuing with what he has started as policy, or what do you expect? A policy change or a continuation of what he's already doing?
I think it's going to be more of a continuation of what he's already doing, because as far as I'm concerned, I think the president has done an incredible job since he became president, and this is going to be his first major speech after he was elected president. Like I said, when the president became AIP after the abduction of the former leader, our revolution was more protest-based, and the previous administration concentrated more on sensitization, which was quite befitting for that time. But when the president came into office, he decided that he's not going to sit around and see these terrorist troops from La République du Cameroon kill our people, burn our villages, and cause all the havoc that they have caused. And so he became like the war president, the self-defense president, I would say, because it was a mistake to say the war president, because we never started this war. It was declared on us. And the president decided that as long as he is president, as long as he remains president, he's gonna do everything to make sure that our people can defend themselves against terror. And I think he's been doing an incredible job. And I just want to commend our boys too, that they have actually benefited from the leadership of the president, and they are also doing an incredible job. I think the president is going to focus a little bit on that. So when I say it's going to be a continuation of his policy, in a sense, what I'm saying is that he's going to probably tell the Amazonian people that we are going to continue giving all we can to this revolution to make sure that our people, our men and women down there are able to defend themselves. You know what is going on in Libya now. You know what is going on all over Amazonia. La République terrorists are all over causing havoc, bringing men into our zone, into our country, and trying to defeat our boys, I would say. But you cannot defeat an idea. The quest for our freedom is so big that I don't think any military in the world can actually defeat our people. When the people want to be free, there is no way you can ever stop them. So I think the president is going to elaborate on that. That's basically it.
Now, at the level of his response to certain at the level of his foreign policy, let me put it that way, at the level of his foreign policy, what do you expect? That is diplomacy.
I expect the president to talk about the recent successes that he had in Brazil. And I also expect the president to also let the Amazonian people know that he's never going to relent when it comes to pushing our case forward in the international community. But I believe that the president is not going to come out and give us like specific diplomatic efforts that he's going to be carrying out, because diplomacy is always quiet. The president is somebody who's always tried to reach out to other nations, other leaders, and other organizations in order to bring them to our side. But he does that quietly. So I don't think the president is going to come out and reveal the diplomatic efforts that he's going to engage in the next few months or in the next year. He's a person who is result driven. So we're just gonna see things coming out that he has done. Like when he started the initiative in Brazil, a lot of Amazonians, a lot of us didn't even know until we found out at the end that he succeeded in getting this city to actually recognize us. That was quite an achievement, and I think the president has more of that in his closet. But diplomacy being quiet, I don't think he's going to come out and say it, just blatantly say it. But he's going to encourage every Amazonian to engage in any way they can to make sure that the international community keeps listening to our case and bring them to understand that we are resolved to actualize our independence, and there is nothing anyone can do to stop us.
Do we also expect any comment from the president about the Swiss initiative? Do we expect any comment?
Yeah, I'm sure he's going to talk about that. That is his signature initiative, in the sense that there have been a lot of distraction. There have been people in this revolution who have come out and bashed the process, but the fact still remains. Any reasonable person would understand that in a war situation like in which we find ourselves, you are always the better party and the mentally superior party if you are ready to go on the table. Yes, you defend yourself, but whenever there's a window, there's an opportunity for you to sit face to face with your opponent and try to resolve things, you know what I mean, peacefully. You always want to be seen as one who accepts that process. So we are still going to be, encouraging our people to support this process. And those who have been bashing it must understand that, it doesn't matter how much they bash it, we are open to it. Until such times when we go and sit on that table and we don't like what we hear, that's when we might actually collectively pull out. But as long as there's a possibility that something good will come from it, we're always going to try to pursue it. So the president is probably going to talk about that. But this is just my personal opinion. But I'm just saying that I'm predicting that the president might actually talk about it. But I don't know. Like I said, we're just speculating.
Okay. I don't know if Dr. Yaya, the press secretary, I just saw her made a flashy appearance. I don't know if she's still around. Now, do you think there will be a special message for our heroes?
Yeah,
for those who are at the moment paid? Is Dr. Yaya there?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Oh,
I finally made it on board.
Welcome, Dr. Yaya.
Thank you very much, able comrades. Sorry, I had some technical issues, but happy to.
Thank God you are here. Dr. Yaya is the press secretary. Please, can you please just tell them that you introduce yourself every day? They know you, but please, can you again?
I have to say, I am a comrade to all of you, so I greet you, Amazonia, especially Ground Zero, and we're all waiting quite excitedly to listen to our president, what he's got for us.
We are going in the next. The president will be coming on in the next 3 minutes. Do you expect any specific message for our heroes on Ground Zero who are facing the bullet, carrying the sticks, and defending motherland? Do you expect a special message from the president after he gave them? He inaugurated the 30th November Amber Warriors Day. Do you expect a special message from him towards the boys?
Certainly. I mean, without Ground Zero, this revolution cannot be sustained. So I expect a very solid word of acknowledgement, of gratitude to Ground Zero and all those who are taking this on our behalf. The families who have lost dear ones, those who are in the bushes, the displaced, the refugees. I think that's probably going to be, a sounding note of his message, amongst many others. And we've only got 3 minutes, so I'm sure my able comrade must have touched on a few speculations. What I guess the president might touch on would be a reminder of how far we've come, in this revolution. So he's probably going to talk about the progression and the progress we have made in the course of this revolution. And also, this is just to give us a perspective, because sometimes we get stuck in the present and we might be despaired, but we forget to remember where we've come from. So knowing that, or being reminded of those facts, where we started with pretty much peace plans, and today a war is imposed upon us, that helps us appreciate that we're making progress and in the right direction. Also, my guess is that we will be touching on the effects of this genocide that was perpetuated upon the people of the Southern Cameroons. And on the one hand, the effects on our people, the creation of refugee, internally displaced persons, sick, wounded, and unnecessary deaths that could have been avoidable. And also, probably he'll be touching on the effect of this war, the oppressor, has caused the government of the Republic of Cameroon. So it's important that when we go through our pains of counting our losses from human to material, that we also see that the perpetrators who are causing us all this pain are also paying a great price, especially economically as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm also getting information from the comment section that Mezam is not getting the signals of ABC at the moment. Somebody says it's blank. So I think the technical department will handle that. So Comrade Yaya, the Director of Cabinet has been talking. Before we move out of the stage, any special message? What do you expect from the President to the Amazonian women, the Tacumbens, the ladies, the women department?
Yes, I think first of all, I hope that the president will be congratulating the women, and by women we mean across the spectrum, from baby girls to teenagers, to ladies, to women, grandmothers, mothers, you name it. Who have put in their best to make sure that this revolution progresses in the right direction towards our freedom. And I'm also hoping that we'll have a message of hope, resilience and hope. Despite our suffering, we are not giving up. I hope that would be top on the president's agenda, because there are times when, being human, we want to think, oh, we wish we had stayed with, the previous situation. It's always easy to choose the path of the least resistance, but that still doesn't solve the underlying problem. So it's important that while we acknowledge, our sacrifice and efforts, and despite the pain and that it causes us, that we still stay resolute and we pass that message to the world that we're not shaking, we're not giving up until we reach Boya. So I hope that message will come through.
Amen to that.
Yeah. What do you have? What message do you have for the Director of Cabinet? What do you expect from the President to the Cabinet?
Well,
because
I don't think the President I don't think the President is going to address the Cabinet during this, but he's going to address the the Amazonian people in general. Specification.
We are talking of specific. Will he maybe in a small portion encourage or talk something to the Cabinet?
I don't know for sure, but I can only speculate, but I can't really tell because I don't know what the president is going to say. But what I'm trying to say is that the president is not going to. I don't think the president will instruct the Cabinet in any form. He's going to praise the Amazonian people for their hard work. He's going to make a generalized statement and encourage us to work harder. And that goes for the Cabinet too. The Cabinet members are also Amazonians, and he's our president. It doesn't matter if you're a Cabinet member or not. So I think he's going to make that general call, to encourage people
Start
to
a new
work harder.
career as a Linux system administrator with an average salary of $80,000 to $120,000 a year. Dynamic Tech Academy has transformed many lives for the better through our 6-month Linux program. We are so excited to announce that we are adding DevOps course, and Red Hat certification at no charge, which will make students more competitive. Over 80% of our students have no prior IT background, yet vast majority of alumni land jobs in 3 to 6 months after they start applying. Our ultimate goal is to reach 100% student employment, so we work with every student until he or she gets a job. Upon successful completion of the course, we will provide resume building, interview preparation, and job placement assistance. With the Linux course, you get more than 300 hours of in-depth training, and you get to learn from experienced instructors. By the end of the program, our students can be Red Hat certified if they choose. Our alumni work in companies, both government and private companies in the USA, Canada, and even Europe. Want to learn more about the program? You can contact us at info@dynamicdmv.com, or you can call us at 240-604-9505, or you can call us at 240-423-7865. And you can also visit us at www.dynamictechdmv.com. If you are interested in online classes, please register on our website. That's once again
Glory, we the Amazonians, pledge our loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who bore the lonely diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Glory, we the Amazonians, pledge our loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who bore the lonely diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Hail, hail, hail this land of glory. the Amazonians pledge our loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. And let the soul the hero who brought the lonely diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Hail, hail, hail this land of glory. We the Amazonians pledge our loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. And let the soul the hero who brought the lonely diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Good evening, dear Ambazonians, fellow Southern Cameroonians. Let me start by paying homage to another great Ambazonian statesman, Senior Comrade Francis Shea, Chairman of the Ethics Committee of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia, who moved on to glory just 4 days ago. He led one of the most important oversight bodies of this interim government, the Ethics Committee, with class and integrity. On behalf of the nation, I extend my heartfelt condolences to the Shea family during this time of despair and assure them of the total support of the interim government and the people of Ambazonia to ensure that our senior comrade gets the honor he deserves when we get to Boya. Let's observe a moment of silence for our heroes and for all of our people slaughtered by Paul Biya's barbaric terrorist soldiers. "2019 has been the most hectic year since this war was declared on the Ambazonian people by dictator Paul Biya on the 30th of November 2017. The genocide that was openly declared on our people by Paul Biya 3 years ago is worsening. More than 16,000 of our compatriots have lost their lives. That's about 2 times more from last year. About 1.5 million refugees, registered and unregistered, have crossed our borders to French Cameroon and other neighboring countries. That is more than the population of the whole of neighboring Equatorial Guinea displaced. There are about more than 60,000 registered refugees in Nigeria alone. This represents only half of our refugee population currently languishing in Nigeria and Ghana. At this time that you are watching this end of year's address, there are thousands of children crying in the arms of their desperate mothers in the middle of a mosquito-stricken equatorial forest with no food, no shelter, no medicine to survive. There are thousands of desperate parents wondering what to do for their children, especially, and how to survive with no food, no shelter, no medicine available. There are thousands of Ambazonian senior citizens, pregnant mothers without essential medication, hoping only that by some miracle they get up tomorrow, still alive, ready to withstand another helpless day. What can I say about the hundreds, if not thousands of Ambazonians with snake bites, bullet wounds, and curable diseases who are hiding and dying in bushes, in transit, in high seas, fleeing from the merciless scorched-earth policy that the 87-year-old heartless dictator of Yaoundé, Mr. Paul Biya, has engaged in, razing down thousands of our living homes. About 400 of our villages so far have been burnt, including properties. About 106 of our sick ones, including babies and the old and the weak, have been brutally roasted in their homes during these burning sprees. This is how barbaric it gets. This is a shameless breach of Geneva Convention on the law of war by a cowardly military whose motivation is nothing more than protecting a puppet octogenarian dictator and his French master. This is the reality of the ongoing genocide, a barbaric French Cameroon project with the sole aim of exterminating the people of southern Cameroons. Let me address the young French Cameroon criminal soldiers sent to Ambazonia to kill innocent civilians and burn our houses. Young men and women, patriotism is not a license to engage in a senseless war that may cut short your life or bring misery to your family just because you were trained to take orders. Orders that go against the dictates of your conscience are not worth executing. Where is your conscience when you gun down a woman old enough to be your grandmother? Where is your conscience when you burn down a family house you well know has taken the sacrifice of a lifetime to construct? How do you feel when you kill a young man almost your age or a baby young enough to be your child, whose only crime is that he or she is along your path of atrocity? How will you not end up in a coffin as your colleagues when you know you rarely kill our brave restoration forces during your missions? Young soldiers of La République du Cameroon, the choice is yours, either to follow the folly of a foolhardy 87-year-old dying dictator who has nothing to lose by wasting your lives, or you choose the path of sanity, which is to defect now from that Paul Biya genocidal military of La République du Cameroon, as many of your colleagues are wisely doing. The honor of choosing the latter is yours to decide, but note that the brave warriors of Ambazonia have sworn to send you back to your maker if you choose to continue to fight us in our land. You are fighting for a miserable paycheck, but we are fighting for our inheritance. We will fight this war for generations until Ambazonia is free, if need be. Therefore, any recruit of La République du Cameroon who is counting himself or herself lucky for not being sent yet to Ambazonia should know that his or her turn will come, and you will surely come and meet your demise in our God-given land. I wonder what any true son or daughter of Ambazonia is still doing in your God-forsaken genocidal military of La République du Cameroon, the so-called Bulu Intervention Rapide or Gendarmerie. In our Amba tradition, to take the blood of your king by enemy orders is an irredeemable sacrilege. Let me once more pay special homage to our brave warriors, our true heroes and heroines, the Ambazonian Restoration Forces, dead and alive, who have demonstrated the highest level of patriotism by continuing to defend homeland amidst challenging conditions. Challenging conditions posed by the enemy without and the enemies within. For our fallen heroes and heroines, we doff our hearts to you and place our hands on our hearts as a sign of respect for your invaluable sacrifice to us Ambazonians in your noble quest to protect our vulnerable people while fighting to liberate homeland. On behalf of the people of Ambazonia, I am awarding you all, dead and alive, the Ambazonia Presidential Medal of Valor, the highest to be awarded any soldier in our nation. We pay allegiance to you, the heroes who bore the land with your blood. In my November 22nd speech to you, I declared the 30th of November as Amba Warriors Day to commemorate the heroism of our warriors during this genocidal liberation war, and I asked you to emulate their patriotism, support our heroes and their families. To refuse to support Ground Zero because of confusion on social media is like drowning your boat in the sea with everybody inside just because your neighbor is talking trash about you. We must be willing to take some bruises, even if unfairly, and remain focused and undistracted to ensure that Ambazonia is free in our generation. Fellow compatriots, following the charade of the French-Cameroon monologue that took place in Yaoundé 2 months ago, the much heralded special status they are parading is only a poor repackaging of their failed assimilation project. They are trying to force this lie on the international community by delaying the Swiss talks and organizing some sham elections in February. However, as you know, we have banned all elections and electioneering in the entire territory of Ambazonia. We recently signed orders shutting down all electoral offices, banning political parties, shutting all polling centers, proscribing campaigns, and outlawing the use and display of election materials of any kind. To this regard, we have charged our valiant restoration forces to arrest all culprits for thorough investigations and immediate prosecution under the laws of Ambazonia. They are authorized to arrest all lawbreakers before, during, and after this electoral season. Fines for those found guilty of collusion with La République du Cameroon to undermine our liberation quest will range from 2 to 15 million francs CFA or life imprisonment. Trials must be carried out by the County War Council under the oversight of our Ambazonia Judicial Commission. We are at war. Our territory is not a Franco-Betty laboratory for the retrial of another failed colonial assimilation formula. Fellow Ambazonians, dear Southern Cameroonians, the challenge of this past year were glaring from the beginning of the year. Your interim government, the People's Interim Government, laid down a robust plan coming into 2019 built around the implementation of the resolutions of the Constituent Assembly of the ASSC Berlin. The government I appointed on May 7, 2019 went straight to work. Your LGAs and counties are now almost fully constituted, and we have recorded an increase in active participation of Ambazonians in their various local government and counties, with elected administrators and representatives from most of the 61 LGAs and all the 13 counties under the oversight of the Department of Home Affairs of the interim government. We worked relentlessly to execute our pent-out strategy towards the prosecution of this revolution, namely grassroots mobilization, institutional efficiency, solidifying self-defense, strategic collaboration, and last but not the least, aggressive international diplomacy. Fellow Ambazonians, dear comrades, I can confidently tell you that we are moving closer to Buea now, despite the bumps. The signs are there for all to judge for themselves. As concerns solidifying self-defense, the National Self-Defense Council or Coordination, it's a team now made up of the National Self-Defense Council, the Department of Self-Defense and Security, and the Presidency. It has been put in place. Its role is to synchronize self-defense operations by coordinating resources, strategies, communication, and execution. Moreover, the Department of Self-Defense and Security has put together a think tank made up of self-defense experts with battlefield experience to provide necessary advice on strategy and intelligence matters. The work of all these brilliant compatriots on self-defense is evident in the actions that our restoration forces are carrying out on ground zero. The enemy can no more have a free ride into our territory. The successful economic sabotage, the resignation and refusal of some appointed colonial administrators to reside in our territory, and the installation of some colonial administrators outside their command headquarters. These are proofs of the overall efficacy and progress of our self-defense strategies. Thank you once more, our brave restoration forces. The Federal Marshall Project is a top priority now and will consist of putting in place an elite rapid response force to cover our entire territory, whose objective will be to significantly assist strategic counties, maintain discipline among our forces, and purge out infiltrators and criminal gangs that sometimes pose as restoration forces just to intimidate our population and extort money from them through kidnappings. Fellow compatriots, dear Ambazonians, our gains in diplomacy in 2019 have been remarkable, thanks to dedicated, hardworking compatriots who leave no stone unturned. They leave no stone unturned in articulating our story of genocide wherever they can. We are gaining the confidence of the international stakeholders towards our cause. For the first time, after the 1961 fraud that ended up in our annexation by La République du Cameroon, the Security Council members of the United Nations picked up our case, deliberating on the humanitarian situation in our territory through the area formula. That meeting took place on the 13th of May 2019, initiated by the United States, UK, Germany, and the Dominican Republic. More light was shed on the atrocities being perpetrated by the Bia's regime on our people. This was a reasonable step forward. The general call for a fact-finding mission today is one of the outcomes of that area formula meeting. Subsequently, a U.S. House Resolution 358 was passed in the House of Representatives on July 23, 2019, condemning the atrocities by the government of La République du Cameroon on the southern Cameroonian people and asking them to comply with international human rights standards. The resolution recommended, among other things, dialogue between the two warring parties without preconditions. Then it was followed by U.S. Senate Resolution 292, passed in the United States Senate on the 30th of July 2019, still on the atrocities on our people, respect for international human rights by the Yaoundé regime, and a recommendation for dialogue without preconditions. Let me use this opportunity to once more thank Congresswoman Karen Bass and Senator Benjamin Cardin and their respective teams for sponsoring the above bills. Apart from the UN and US, the following bodies, UK House of Lords and the House of Commons, the European Union Parliament, the Canadian Parliament, the German Bundestag, the Scandinavian countries, some Central and South American countries, some African countries, as well as major international organizations like the AU, Commonwealth, etc., are deliberating on our demand for self-determination. They are proposing solutions pegged on an internationally facilitated mediation without preconditions amidst the deteriorating humanitarian situation as a result of dictator Paul Biya's genocide on our people. We have relentlessly led diplomatic offenses in many countries we visited in 2019, from Germany to United Kingdom to Sweden to Finland to Norway to Brazil. We had the opportunity to articulate our cause to international stakeholders, and we are following up rigorously on the many diplomatic bridges we have built this far. The recognition and support of the Barueri municipality of Brazil and the great people of Brazil as a whole to our quest for self-determination is another major remarkable milestone in the path of our restoration quest. Let me use this opportunity on behalf of the Amazonian people to thank our new Amazonian diplomatic mission in Brazil for the hard work during my visit there recently. We are confident that tangible fruits of diplomacy like the ones in Brazil will be harvested by our team in 2020. My dear compatriots, you can see for yourselves that the task you mandated us to undertake in Berlin as your interim government has been more than 70% executed fervently. Our aggressive diplomacy has been done mostly quietly without making our gains public beforehand, because we understand in a liberation war like ours, where antagonistic internal spoilers take every positive stride as competition, we as your people's government must keep a level head and stay focused on the end goal, which is our complete liberation. We will not go down the gutters with those who have chosen to fight the interim government instead of La République, or insult their way up the leadership ladder. We will rather continue to exercise reason, restraint, and focus in 2020. We can assure you we will not waste our precious time needed to do the work at hand, responding to social media anti-revolutionaries who spend the productive hours of their days comfortably behind their keyboards, churning out write-ups, audios, and videos aimed at pulling down the interim government instead of La République du Cameroon. These hate mongers are helping the French Cameroon agenda, knowingly or unknowingly, by helping to delay or deny us our chances of victory. We want to focus on laboring tirelessly for the freedoms we deserve now. Take, for example, the Swiss-led process, which is the only internationally endorsed platform ever put in place in our 58 years of annexation for a possible negotiated settlement between La République du Cameroon and Ambazonia, instead of compatriots to put all hands on deck and fall behind this initiative, masterminded by the interim government and piloted by all nationalist groups under Team Ambazonia, they act. Some of our compatriots have taken a second full-time job to tear down the initiatives through malicious propaganda when they have no viable alternative. I use this opportunity to congratulate our compatriots in Morisk, APLM, SCAPO, SCAM, ROA, SCNC, and AIPC for demonstrating sound and selfless judgment by endorsing the Swiss process together with the interim government, thereby giving French Cameroon no wiggle room for delays or escape to meet us at the table. As a result, French Cameroon can no longer say, as before, we don't know who to talk to. This is why the international pressure is now mounting on French Cameroon to get to the table, or else. Team Ambazonia, on behalf of the people of Ambazonia, I want to say thank you. Let me use this opportunity to reiterate to Ambazonians that despite the nonsensical lies out there that Switzerland or HD is withdrawing as the official mediator of the international process, the Swiss are totally committed as ever to mediate this conflict. Today, the United Nations Security Council resolution of the 5th of December 2019 puts pressure on La République du Cameroon to participate in the Swiss-led negotiation with the Center of Humanitarian Dialogue, HD, as their technical partners. Our mediator is still the government of Switzerland, and HD, her technical partner, no leave, no transfer. The question I would like to ask Ambazonians is, what is the reason for the Swissophobia or the resistance of this international process? How can the fear of falling into an imaginary French trap paralyze intelligent Ambazonians this much? Who told anybody that Ambazonians' voluntary participation in a UN-backed process is a chain around our neck or is tantamount to any kind of surrender? If meeting La République du Cameroon through an acceptable third-party mediator at a table endorsed by powerful international stakeholders is not good enough, then what do we want? Is this not what we have been asking for 58 years? Yes, we know that the Franco-Betty mafia is desperate to create and prop up a moderate faction of so-called restorationists amongst us to negotiate with. They have not found any yet, I hope. They are, however, desirous to kill the Swiss process because, in their own words, it is led by radicals. I don't know what that means, actually, but why on earth are some Ambazonians helping these French Cameroon masterminds with arguments to stay away from the Swiss process on the pretext that Ambazonians don't want the Swiss process? How does that position help our cause at this time? On behalf of your interim government, let me boldly tell you this. We are damn ready to go even to hell with our eyes open to negotiate our separation from French Cameroon. This is not 1961 Fumban. This is 2020 in Switzerland. We will not waste our time to seek agreement with people who pursue interest more than reason. The time for group politics is over. He who has an apology to render to his brother should do so quietly. He who did a wrong should right the wrong before going to bed. He who stumbled should rise. He who hated his brother or sister because of lies he was told should ask God for pardon and seek genuine reconciliation in 2020. We will not babysit or reward anti-revolutionary conduct by wasting precious revolutionary time and resources in trying to educate the educated. Our focus is to cross this finish line with as many as are willing. God help us. On the humanitarian front, under the guidance of the Department of Health and Social Services, we have been able to assist in the provision of basic like food, drinkable water, hospital bills payment for some of our internally displaced persons, refugees, prisoners, and the wounded. Some housing was provided to some of our refugees in Nigeria. Let me use this opportunity to once more thank the UNHCR and all our accredited partner NGOs on Ground Zero and Ground One for their services. With regards to health, there has been the dissemination of survival health tips when there are signs of possible disease outbreak in our displaced communities. With the constant daily increase in IDPs and refugees, our resources are always limited. Therefore, the HSS has launched a non-governmental organization to mobilize fundraisers and facilitate the good work of that department. As a continuation of the institutional structuring as stipulated in ASSC Berlin 2019, the Department of Health and Social Services has implemented the Amber Peace Plan directives of linking up with elected LGAs and county health and social service representatives to better coordinate our operations at the grassroots level. Despite the many challenges of limited funds and voluntary personnel, we are determined to engage medical practitioners on the ground by partnering with third-party operatives during this period of war and supplying them with essential medications so that our people can have some medical assistance within their proximity. Therefore, compatriots, when we are called to contribute towards our health and humanitarian projects, let us not hesitate, please. Fellow Ambazonians, dear Southern Cameroonians, education is one of the reasons that this struggle for our liberation was reignited in 2016. We take pride in our educational system, which was meant to suit the educational aspirations of our children, preparing them for the competitive world of today and tomorrow. But the colonial regime took pride in destroying a better system of education that our fathers put in place by dictating their inferior educational curriculum to our children and sending them teachers who do not master our language of instruction, the English language, to teach our children using French as the language of instruction as the final straw to complete their assimilation project. Our teachers and lawyers and all compatriots who have stood for the liberation of homeland were vindicated when Dictator Biya openly admitted on the international stage just last month that their plan from 1961 was to completely assimilate us, the Southern Cameroonians. I feel the pain like any parent will, not seeing our children go to school for almost 3 years now. But wisdom dictates that we cannot allow our children to attend schools in the middle of insecurity caused by this senseless war. Yes, It is also our responsibility not to leave a generation of our young compatriots without education in a situation where this liberation war drags on for long. We are therefore in consultation with UNICEF on how our newly designed Amazonian academic curriculum from pre-kindergarten to university level can be put in place in selected localities and or through distance learning. For such a project to be feasible, the need for the UN to create a buffer zone in Amazonia may be necessary. Another plausible institutional restructuring as recommended in ASSC Berlin is the Department of Women's Services, whose role in connecting, motivating, educating, and encouraging our women to be more committed to our liberation quest has been exemplary. We also seek ways of reaching out to our women on ground zero with special needs. Mobilizing the grassroots via local government by local government outreach and fundraising are just two of the engagements these honorable Amber ladies of our women's services are undertaking. My call to all Amber ladies out there is to reach out to our women department and get involved in one way or the other in our quest for freedom, because you, more than the men, bear the bulk of the pain for all the thousands of your children that are being massacred by our enemy. My dear compatriots, fellow Amazonians, without any doubt, you will agree with me that we have made remarkable strides this year as concerns our restoration quest, and this could not be possible without your support. The first ever national financial audit of the interim government was conducted following my order, and the report was made. It was made public for all to see. If you did not see a copy, ask your local government administrator. This audit vindicated us from the plethora of unwarranted allegations that were aimed at discrediting the work we are doing sacrificially for the Amazonian people. The audit results equally pushed us to institute reforms that have made our IG today more transparent and accountable than ever. Our treasury is now a community treasury of 20 persons, no longer a one-man show as before. The second audit for 2019 has already been carried out, and the report will be shared with all stakeholders concerned. The setting up of a national treasury, a national audit committee made up of LGA representatives, a national procurement committee, and the creation of the Office of Controller General are all confident building measures that we have taken to ensure greater transparency and accountability in our interim government. As at now, the 2020 budget proposal for the interim government has been completed. It is now left for the newly constituted Restoration Council to promulgate it into law this January as our 2020 finance law. A team of Amazonian experts brought together by the Department of Economy, Investment and Natural Resources. This team has successfully crafted the economic vision of the Federal Republic of Amazonia, putting in place an economic blueprint of Amazonia that will become the driving force for our economic diplomacy and corporate support for our cause. My fellow Amazonians, dear Southern Cameroonians, the interim government under my watch will continue to prosecute this revolution as mandated by you, the people. We will continue to do what is right despite the activities of detractors and makeshift spoilers. How can we lose focus when we have achieved this much? Since we began this journey of our liberation quest 58 years ago, mistakes have been made by all leaders and stakeholders. We made ours and quickly learned our lessons as we moved on and readjusted where necessary. Some took positions out of ego, greed, or ignorance and fell off the track along the way. But 3 years down the line in our era, it is clear that any stance by a stakeholder in this liberation struggle today is a conscious choice. It will be a complete misplacement of priority to leave the urgent need of our people who are dying, massacred daily by Paul Biya's genocidal military, to seek new converts or massage oversized egos. I think we have done that enough. Let me speak for myself. Nobody should fight for a leader or a group of people. Let's fight for Mother Ambazonia. The stakes are too high. Let's put aside all contestations and rivalry. Let us consolidate our collective gains this far in our liberation quest, both in self-defense and diplomacy, and accelerate our efforts in 2020. The time for talking is over. The time for action is now. Our generation will be judged by the outcome of this war, not by which Ambazonian mounted the greatest opposition to the IG, not by who shot the fatal shot, but by the answer to this question: who won this battle at the end, La République du Cameroon or Ambazonia? We either all sail through this sea successfully or we all drown if Dr. Sako is going to score in the enemy's goal. And my so-called Ambazonian teammate decide to stop me because he doesn't like me or you don't want me to take the glory. Guess what? Our team will lose. It will lose the match. Period. It is only understandable if you sold the match and you are covertly playing for the other side and we did not know. That is only when it makes sense to rejoice when the IG loses, mock our every positive achievement, or muzzle the principal ox that is plowing our field. 3 years down the road, it now dawned on me and many that the so-called infighting on social media at this stage is no longer because of some mere misunderstanding as some of us thought before. It is the veiled promotion of a political agenda by a few who secretly belong to the other side of the aisles, pressing for a different outcome by stopping this interim government. But we in this IG are not perturbed. We have heard ground zero clearly. The prime recommendation to us is to steer on the ship to Buea by all means necessary, as if the lives of 8 million Ambazonians depend on us. This is an arduous task we will pursue in 2020 with a tunnel vision. We will work with the willing to accomplish the aspiration of the critical mass of the Ambazonian people, which is freedom now, politics later. It is time we consolidate and accelerate our way to Buea. My dear Ambazonian people, the future is pregnant. The will and zeal are there. The determination is visible, and our collective destiny is close. Let us grasp it. Fellow compatriots, let's be true finishers. Let backing out not be a second thought. In the matter of this collective freedom, there is no option B. Ambazonia, British Southern Cameroons, must be free. That is the mission our generation must fulfill. This is the mission of our lifetime. But we have to do more to keep the quest for our freedom sustainable. This year, we put in place the Amber Peace Plan program. with the aim of giving back the management and control of this liberation quest to you, the people, via your LGAs and counties. I can confidently say the mobilization has been encouraging. You have your representatives at the level of the interim government to make your voices heard. I encourage those compatriots who have still not joined their LGAs or counties to know that they are missing out to be part of this liberation history. For those who are already in, continue to support your LGAs so that our brave restoration forces will double their efforts to defend our homeland. Let us take pride in fighting for our freedom by owning this quest for complete independence. What better way can we do this if we have not yet signed up for our monthly compulsory independence dues, the CID? The minimum requested is only $10 per month, but you can choose a higher monthly contribution representing your level of sacrifice in this struggle or corresponding to your financial status. The secure website, once more, is the www.cidambascitizens.com, and it takes only 3 to 5 minutes to sign up. Let me use this opportunity to thank immensely our external partners and allies who are making enormous sacrifices to make sure we succeed in this liberation endeavor. History will count you as stepping forth when it mattered most to Ambazonians. Many have opined that Southern Cameroons will be another South Sudan if we separate from French Cameroon, as if there's any guaranteed hope for peace if we are forced to remain with crooked French Cameroon. That is far from the truth. Our case in Ambazonia is different. Ours is not a strongman-centered revolution. It is a people-owned and people-centered revolution. No leader can destroy our country. The people will rise to protect our victory against any renegade group of spoilers. Remember, we the people have not bought our freedom from abroad, but with our precious blood. And if that doesn't suffice, let me give the concerned international community another proposal to consider. It is the overwhelming opinion of our stakeholders that for peace to reign in this sub-region, we must regain our political independence now. And if need be, we are willing to work out a secure plan with a security plan with the UN and trusted guarantors to establish a reasonable transition period of, say, 10 years, where Ambazonians may not have their own military and no Ambazonian is allowed to bear arms. An international force will be constituted by allied nations, providing us with our needed post-war territorial defense and security. Ambazonia has got the means to pay for this arrangement. Our government will focus on reconstruction, rebuilding our institutions, accelerating resettlement, rehabilitation, and demilitarization, generate economic growth and prosperity for our people. This will guarantee peace in our country. Fellow Ambazonians, I want to say thank you to all those of you who contribute dutifully to your local government, your counties, etc. And those who, out of free will and generosity, just reach out financially to a suffering compatriot or family in need, both on ground zero and in the diaspora. Dear compatriots, dear Ambalanders, we cannot compare our meager sacrifice out here in the diaspora to what those on ground zero are going through. Without the enormous sacrifices of ghost towns, lockdowns, and your armed resistance, this struggle would have been a story by now. I want to assure those languishing in jail that the IJ will never abandon you. After the confiscation of all our bank accounts by the treasurers of our former president, we are happy to announce to you that we have dug out ourselves from that pit. I therefore directed the DHS, HSS and local government and counties to conduct an updated census of all our comrades in jails, so we can together work to help alleviate their suffering significantly going forward. Let's continue to support our formidable restoration forces through accountable structures like the IG or your local governments. We hail you, Ground Zero. Almost each day you bury one of ours gunned down by those La République du Cameroon terrorists just because he or she is Ambazonian. You take care of the wounded with the little means available. Some of you have lost your jobs and your children are not going to school. Business is difficult now. Yes, the sacrifice you bear is much. Yes, the price of freedom is heavy, but its price is irresistible. Let us together get that prize, which is complete independence. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. We will rebuild Ambazonia. You will have better jobs. Our children will be taught in an environment of dignity and in a language that they understand. We will pave our roads, especially the ones from farms to the markets. We will build the economy to make sure that each Ambazonian household lives in dignity and peace. There will be justice, fairness, and equity for all. We will look after our children and the elderly. We will retrain some of our restoration forces to become the best police force in Africa. We will take care of their health after this brutal war and send some on deserving retirement with enough to live well the rest of their lives. We will compensate the families of fallen heroes and build memorials in their honor. All of us in exile, in the diaspora, have a home to freely return to, and even the remains of our heroes past who were buried in foreign abodes will be returned home for a befitting burial. Above all, we will live free in our own land of birth, caring for each other as we chart a guaranteed destiny from the resources bestowed in our land by the Almighty. This is the dream. This is why you and I cannot give up now. Even if we fall along the way, let us fall selflessly with faith and confidence, knowing that generations will strive better in a free Ambazonia because we showed up when it mattered most. This is the true Amba spirit, the spirit of sacrifice. Let us continue to be Amba strong. Independence now, politics later. Happy New Year to you all. May God bless you and bless the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. Thank you.
Glory, we the Ambazonians, special loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us the freedom, and legends to the hero who held the land with Diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with earth and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meeting our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom. You shall live in plenty, meet in our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Hail, hail, hail this land of glory. We the Amazonians pledge our loyalty. Praise the soul of Savior who granted us the freedom. And legends to the hero who brought the land with Diablo. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation flowing with light and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meet in our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meet in our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God be the watchman of this nation.
Start a new career as a Linux system administrator with an average salary of $80,000 to $120,000 a year. Dynamic Tech Academy has transformed many lives for the better through our 6-month Linux program. We are so excited to announce that we are adding DevOps course and Red Hat certification at no charge, which will make students more competitive. Over 80% of our students have no prior IT background, yet vast majority of alumni land jobs in 3 to 6 months after they start applying. Our ultimate goal is to reach 100% student employment, so we work with every student until he or she gets a job. Upon successful completion of the course, we will provide resume building, interview preparation, and job placement assistance. With the Linux course, you get more than 300 hours of in-depth training, and you get to learn from experienced instructors. By the end of the program, our students can be Red Hat certified if they choose. Our alumni work in companies, both government and private companies in the USA, Canada, and even Europe. Want to learn more about the program? You can contact us at info@dynamicdmv.com, or you can call us at 240-604-9505, or you can call us at 240-423-7865. And you can also visit us at www.dynamictechdmv.com. If you are interested in online classes, please register on our website. That's once again www.dynamictechdmv.com.
Can you guys hear me? I can hear you. Oh, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you quite clearly.
Oh, okay. It looks like the AI is frozen.
Yeah. I'm not sure what should be happening.
Well, I think we should just go ahead and talk about the president's speech. What do you think about it?
I think it's really a well-elaborate speech, which addresses almost all the angles and expectation of the people of the Southern Cameroon, especially given that throughout this period from 2016 to present, so many things have been going on that they expected that the president will be able to talk about. And I think that after following the speech from the beginning to the end, he has been able to touch every angle which addresses the need of the people. And I think that is a well rich in content as well as promises, and it has given a lot of hope to the people of the Federal Republic of Ambazonia.
Yeah, I think it was a great speech too. I think
Yeah.
one part that really that I really liked is the part where it was just like a call to duty, you know, to remind Amazonians that, you know, it's better to join the struggle and join your brothers and sisters to fight for the struggle than just remain permanently calibrated to attack the IGO and whatever it's trying to do. For instance, the Swiss process, he really talked about leaders who have taken upon themselves to just bash the process and make it sound as though the process is no good for Ambazonia. Whereas, you know what I mean, that's not true. I think the Swiss process is alive, and if everyone should just come in and support the process, you know, nothing is going to be shoved down our throats. The president made allusions to that, in the fact that if we go on to that table and we don't like what we hear, then we walk out as a people, instead of sitting on social media, you know, typing and criticizing and insulting and, you know, I like the fact that he commended, you know, those groups and comrades who have actually embraced the process, like Boo Herbert of Morris, Scapo, Scam, all those other groups, the Dr. Akwanga. You know, the fact that he recognized, you know, their selflessness. You know, these are all Ambazonians of different affiliation, but when it comes to what benefits the country as a whole, they put their egos aside and come together to work with the IG and with other brothers and sisters so we can push this process forward. So I really like that part. What else did you hear the president say, Mr. Fondo?
Actually, I was also very encouraged in the area of diplomacy, because, you know, it has been one of those key areas where we have been expecting international institutions, which matters most in decision making, in resolving problems in the world, to come to our attention. But at this moment that we are talking, it is not like a rumor, it is not like expecting them, or it's not like a kind of, might be a situation where we are still aiming towards that. But every single Ambazonian in all the nooks and crannies is extremely delighted to see that institutions that we never expected them to talk about our struggle, including the UN, the European Union, the United States, Great Britain, Germany, Canada, and even the African Union, the Commonwealth. Everybody is talking about the situation of Southern Cameroon, which is extremely, extremely wonderful. This shows that the president and the cabinet member, with the support of the entire Southern Cameroonians of goodwill, have been supporting this particular aspect, which is highly needed for this our revolution. And you see that we can listen to even the Security Council, which is the highest organ in the UN, talking about Southern Cameroon. My God, it's so encouraging. I mean, anyone who had doubted the struggle, will never give a second thought anymore. Because I remember that when this struggle started, many persons were very skeptical. Some just described it as that will not thing. Some said this thing will not work. They thought it was just like those kind of skirmish that comes up and die off. But now all of them, when I meet them, the way they talk about this struggle, not only talking but contributing and even criticizing now those who try to talk evil against the struggle, it tells you that there have been a completely turnaround. And it is one of the reasons is thanks to this international diplomacy that has been carried out by His Excellency Dr. Samuel Sakwe Kome and the team and the entire support of the Southern Cameroonians. Who on earth would have imagined that he will be able to open up a very good window as an outlet towards South America? Who? In fact, when I myself, when I saw those images, I see a whole mayor of a big city talking about Southern Cameroon, defending the case of Southern Cameroon and drawing analysis from Resolution 1608 of the UN. I said, no, I think that this is the biggest nightmare that La République Cameroon will now believe that, yes, the Southern Cameroonian people are long, far educated and highly connected and ready for this independence that he had ever thought.
You know,
you can imagine that.
Yeah. The Brazilian ambassador actually wrote a letter of protest, chastising the city for doing what it did for Amazonia. But the fact still remains that, like you were saying, I'm just trying to articulate what you said and what the president articulated today. In the sense, we in our collectivity as a people have done an incredibly good job from the beginning of the struggle. You know, back in 2017, not all of our people really knew who they were and what, what their country. Oh, yeah, is that you? Are you back?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was.
You can see your picture, you were in the broadcast. Like I was saying, you have technical difficulties, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, there you are. I can see you now. Yeah, it was in the beginning of the struggle, a lot of about our history. They had grown to accept the status quo. But when they saw the treatment of our lawyers and our teachers, all the trade unionists who came out and protested, how the government just beat them and abused them and humiliated them, that is when our people started saying, well, wait a minute, who are we? And a lot of people started educating themselves about our struggle. And most of them, when they found out who they really were, it gave them to show it. We know what we lost and we get. So what basically said was we are going to move forward. We are going to keep pushing forward until beside that, they are what you say the personal speech today.
I'm sorry?
I
think I just missed that.
Now, what you take it personal speech today.
Yeah.
I guess
it was just
sorry,
a general analysis.
No, I was talking to Dr.
Hello?
Yaya, Mr. Fondo. I was asking Dr. Yaya what she thought of the president's speech today.
Oh, that was fantastic, phenomenal. I mean, how do we feel? Electric. I don't have a word to truly describe it. I think with the man of wisdom, he's seen all the angles, areas we speculated, some we didn't. So it was great, very uplifting. I think we had again a succinct summary of come from what we've been through, our challenges, and what we've improved on, the structures we put in place, so that we are better and better functioning government. The big aspects of our revolution this year, the big gains, especially on the diplomatic front. You know, he was just awesome. I think we need to listen to this speech over and over again. I'm sorry if I seem a bit distracted. I didn't have members of the post-analysis team who are still struggling to so this is to sort of a few things. I'll be back with you.
Okay. Mr. Fondo, can you hear me?
Yes, comrade.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. There goes the
Yeah.
Director of Communications, Sister Comfort. Welcome, Sister Comfort.
Comrade,
So
can you
Chairman, can you hear me, please?
I can hear you very well. I think Sister Comfort is going to come in with part of the her own analysis. Welcome, Sister Comfort. Can you hear me?
Oh, no sound.
The network is quite challenging today.
Can you hear me now?
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, great stuff. Welcome, sis. So I guess we'll just take over till Lady Casey joins in, who was supposed to be anchor lady for the post-speech analysis. So we'll just shoot straight away. We know you're the powerful lady. You've done the pigeon version of this absolutely, I don't know, mind-breaking speech. So what's your take? What can you say about the president's speech tonight?
Yeah, thank you. Before I even go ahead to say a thing, I would like to say good evening, fellow Ambazonians and televiewers. And I greet you all, dear panelists, Comrade Walters, Comrade Eric, and Dr. Yaya. Yeah, thank you. What else would I say? Because it's a speech that is pregnant with promises, with a lot of wisdom. And where do I even start from? The very first thing that is actually really striking me, that struck me from this speech, is the fact that it is very, very reassuring. The bit where he lets Ambazonians know, especially our oppressed ones back home, the reassurance that they are working hard to see that the United Nations, in collaboration with the UNICEF, they create a buffer zone for our people, our children to go to school. Is the fact that our government is so conscious of the fact that we are in a 21st century where illiteracy is a no-go and our children must not be left out. So the reassurance that our people who are suffering today, their families will be looked upon, will be looked after this war. I think that is something to write home about. That is something really to take seriously. That is when we see that our government has their people at heart. This is the people's government, and they do nothing but serve their people, think about their people, think for their people. So it was such a great a speech, and you can talk on and on and on because, yeah, even the bit, I'm just happy. I don't know what Lady Casey is going to want to hear from us, but if you permit me, Dr. Yaya, I'm pointing out one of the things he says, which I'm just like, he says, this time we have been babysitting enough, and enough of this babysitting. So if you think that you owe me some apology, just come behind the house. Let's make our ways right and move on. There's no time again to come sit and say, oh, this one has done this or that, because we have time now only to focus and make this thing out of our way. This is important. Now it's time for business. I think 3 years gone, getting into the 4th year, one of my greatest colleagues, I would call a comrade, said, he said that with last year, the beginning of last year that is ending today, of this year that is ending today, he said, Mark Comfort, we have spent 2 years learning how to run a revolution. So this 3rd year now, it's time for us to be serious with business. But we spent this 1 year again joking and kidding around, doing all of the things that we know are happening out there. But I think it is a year of grace when I hear the president says there is no more time for babysitting. And truly that time is gone, and there were no 2 ways. Nobody could say it even better. So I think it was a great speech. And thank you. Let me not take all of the time. You know, if you give me room, I will talk and talk. Thank you.
Okay, I know. It's quite an exciting day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, like Dr. Yaya. Dr. Yaya, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was going to ask
Do
you
we have
what you thought about.
Can you?
I was going to ask you what you thought about what the president said about reaching out to women and encouraging women and acknowledging their hard work in this revolution.
I think that was really good. As we know, women are the backbone of any community. Every community builds on the family structure. And we know that the family structure is held stable by the female, by the woman. She's the mother, she's the homemaker, she's the peacemaker, she's that solid foundation, you know, that reassures everyone when things are going wrong. So I think it is a real boost and an endorsement to hear this from the president, acknowledging the role of the woman in the revolution. And he's calling on all women to step up and, you know, and take up places of responsibility, not just at a high level of office, but everywhere. You know, I think that was a great acknowledgement. We need to do because we're simply from the backbone, and we have less egos than our men who do all the, you know, fiery fights. So hopefully, yeah, we should be seeing more women come up like we see already in the field of activism and in taking up positions. And we can also see what that the interim government has actually improved in placing women in some strategic areas of importance in the running of this revolution. Thank you.
Yeah, you are quite an example.
Eric, please, as a woman, a fellow woman with me. Yeah, I think it was really, it's something really important. Yeah, Dr. Yaya calls it recognition of women. I will add to it by saying he did not only like recognizing us, but a kind of empowering women to empower women. You know, he just empowered women so they could empower women. You know, it's differently when me, I'm sitting here and telling fellow women, look, sitting here, speak at the top of join 1 or 2 things. It takes only a woman to convince another fellow woman, because we know what we do when the time comes. When it happened, you know, we say, me all my movie head tie on talk about, we tie it, we stand up, and we go for what we want. And it takes only women, because we have our own kind of language we speak and how we understand ourselves. So I think it is a great thing, and we appreciate it. And like he says, the president says, we are really, really calling on every woman to be on board, because it is really a big package. You know, it has to start from the diaspora to all other parts of the world, and then go back on ground zero, ground one, and the rest of the places, and look even after women with special needs, and empower young women, middle-aged women, elderly women. You know, some have really already empowered themselves even before we had the ministry of the women's services. You could see our own mothers bearing children. This is how. what keeping a woman, if I may ask, like our dear president just asked. So we really do appreciate that office, and we think that we want to put in our best efforts to support my patients and Dr. Asong to see that we make the women's world a place to be in Amazonia. Thank you.
Yeah, but you see, I agree with everything both you and Aya have just said, but I'm going to add something to that. I think the president was also trying to say, you know what, we are bringing women to empower us, because this is not just about the president empowering women. So as a guy, I would think, okay, for instance, when I was the press secretary, I brought in Dr. Yaya. It was quite intriguing that the first thing I told her was that, Yaya, the reason why I brought you in here because I think you are better than me. I wanted to come here and help me do my job. Help me do a better job. And it turned out she was a great, she was my chief of staff. I brought it in as my chief of staff in the press secretariat. And today she's the press secretary. But I didn't bring her in because I wanted to empower her. I brought her in because I knew that she had a good potential and I could benefit from her too. So I think that's what the president was also doing. Not just acting as though we are bringing women in because we want to empower them. We are trying to empower our own selves too with the strength of our women. So that's why every Ambazonian should appreciate the fact that we have such wonderful women in this revolution who have been doing such an incredible job. Mr. Fondo, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, you see, I think in the liberation of the big nations like the United States and Great Britain, John Stuart Mill described the presence of women as something very, very important, in the sense that they were the forefront of the revolutions, where they had to readdress situation and encourage each and everyone by going to the street, invading the place, both the parliament as well as other institutions. This immediately encouraged each and everyone who could see a woman that is considered to be the weaker person in the society taking up the lead. So each and everyone therefore just took upon themselves, and that is how the revolution sparked. I want to say here that women have a more stronger voice when it comes to mobilization. Women have a more higher spirit when it comes to an appeal for collective push. That is why you see in a revolution, or even in the attack of Jericho, it was a woman that was sent to actually map out issues before bring back information. And I'm so happy that the president understands the presence of women in this revolution. And he has been able to give power to each and everyone who he feels that he can actually push this revolution further. He has come to the understanding where women are important. So he has given power to them. And so other departments that makes up the whole.
I think we have Lady Casey. Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Fondo. I think we have Lady Casey ready to make her entrance. I don't know if she can hear me, but take it away. Lady
Yes,
Casey.
I can hear you clearly. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you fine, yeah.
All right. Greetings, distinguished comrades. Thank you so much for keeping up with the analysis so far. You know, the revolution, we are dealing with so many different things, and I happen to just jump in now from work, and I really appreciate all the effort and work you guys have been putting up. I also want to greet our viewers, those who are watching us on all the various media, social media platform, and those on satellite. And I want to appreciate those on ground zero, because as we all heard, the president said there is nothing that we in the diaspora, no sacrifice that we are doing in the diaspora that can compare to what those on ground zero, our valiant heroes, are doing. So we appreciate you. We acknowledge your sacrifices. We know the enemy plan is to make you think that the suffering during this our freedom quest is worse than being part of La Republique. But I want to take this medium and this opportunity to remind all Southern Cameroonians on ground zero in particular that there is no sacrifice too much for freedom. Living in dignity in your own country without being annexed and colonized, handing down nonsense like special status as if we have a problem or we are not capable. But history has shown that we are more than capable to take care of ourselves. So we will not allow, we cannot come this far just to come this far. We must continue fighting to the logical end. And the president emphasized that and explained that in his speech in different ways, from the efforts in diplomacy, from the efforts in building the self-defense mechanisms and structures, and improving the effectiveness and transparency in the functions of the institution of our revolution, the interim government headed by President Samuel Ikome. You know, we must continue to stay focused and understand that now is the time to fight and fight until we have our freedom. And I want to come to my, greet all of you, my comfort, Comrade Eric, Comrade Waters. I greet you all. I will come to you quickly, Comrade Eric Ate. You guys have been talking a lot about different things, but the president also talked a lot about honoring our heroes and heroines, our fighters that have before us and those that are still alive with the highest honor of valor. What do you make of that? How does that make you feel? What do you think about it?
It makes me feel jealous. It makes me feel jealous because you know what? They deserve it better than all of us. All those our fighters who are sacrificing their life, those who have lost their lives, those who have lost their livelihood for our nation. When I say it makes me jealous, I mean, it makes me feel inadequate in the sense that we are here in the diaspora doing the best we can. But what we do can never compare to the sacrifice that those men and women are putting forth into this revolution. The thing is, when you if you ever had an opportunity to speak to any of them,
want the dedication to be on. Is it worth it or?
Dr. Yaya, sorry, Comrade Eric. Dr. Yaya said she is back with us. So Dr. Yaya,
okay.
just Comrade Eric will be talking now. For now, listen, and I will get to you soon. Thank you, Comrade Eric.
As I was saying, the president, the fact that the president made emphasis to recognizing, our heroes and heroines on the road. Yeah, I felt really because our efforts can ever compare to the efforts of our fellow comrades on ground zero who have been giving it all, putting their lives in danger. We are here, we might do our part, but I don't think it is anything, compared to what they go through, because they are, our defenders. Those are the people who are defending our gates. And so it was quite refreshing and I was very happy that the president recognized them in that manner and, with that award. So then when I started talking, when I started my statement, I said, I'm jealous of them. What I'm trying to say is that, you know what I mean? Every Ambazonian should be proud of what these people are doing. They have done such an incredible job, and I think I really, really, really commend the president for recognizing them.
All right, thank you, Comrade Eric. Thank you. Comrade Comfort, I will come to you. I'm a warrior queen. You have been you have done so much. I don't even know where to start. And you've listened to the president's speech this evening. He addressed a lot of issues on ground zero. He talks about our communities, how we'll have an elite force to maintain security and to secure our people from kidnappers and those who are extorting money from our people. You know, this is some of the points that he articulated in his address this evening. How, you know, as a mobilizer, as the people's person that you are, you know, what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, thank you, Lady Casey. Thank you once again, and Happy New Year. Glad to finally have you here. Yeah, I know. You know, these are some of the things. This question seems to be like different from what you asked Comrade Eric, but it feels like you just repeat all he said. You know, because it makes me feel like, you know, it's painting already a picture in my mind. You know, I'm already having, you know, it's just like I close my eyes. When I do that, I close my eyes, I already have a picture of Amazon in my mind. Thing that happens is I feel pushed. I feel you are all good and you need to do much better. Why? I am in such a mad rush. It is just hurrying me up. I really want to just go home. Not just to go home, but go home still actively young because I really want to enjoy it too before I leave it and go. You know? So what about that? It just gets me to go on and work and do even more and not to sleep. I want to mobilize. I want to remind the other person. I just want to do something because I can't wait to see homeland. And above all, this I'm talking about myself because if I want to think that I want to lie to you that I'm fighting like that, I'm not having interest, personal interest, then I am lying. Now let's go to the real people who matter. You know what it means. I just have that picture that at last my child back home will feel exactly like my child here. And why not even better? Because you have even much better conditions, weather conditions, and all good food, natural food. There is this freedom. You know, you move around freely. And so I have that kind of picture that just makes me want to walk and walk even over time if I can. And if that takes us to Boya, because not until we get home, we'll not even know. But then one close their eyes like I am doing and have that picture of free Amazonia development, all of the prints, the blueprint, then just present. So it's just for us to say, fellow Amazonians, you are doing really great for those who mean business. But then you can put in more effort.
Thank you, Marco, for thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know if Comrade Walter still with us.
Oh yes, I'm right here.
Okay, I know you people have, you know, I just want you to, in 1 minute, just sum up the, you know, the details. No, not really the details, the impact. How should Amazonia take the detail that the president articulated in his speech of our diplomatic achievements so far? What should that tell us, all the freedom fighters who are fighting to liberate Southern Cameroons, now known as Amazonia? What should that tell us? How should that inspire us? What's the inspiration you got from that? Just in 1 minute, quickly. Thank you.
I think that I want to encourage all the freedom fighters that from what the president deeply elaborate in regards to diplomacy, we can see a very clear picture now, which any skeptic can no longer doubt the position of Southern Cameroon. The president has been able to bring Southern Cameroon to the door and closeness as ever before to all international institutions. You see United Nations, the highest organ, the Security Council, talking about Southern Cameroon. You see the African Union talking about Southern Cameroon. You see the EU talking about Southern Cameroon. Canada talking about Southern Cameroon. Germany, Britain, and almost all the international institution that matters is now talking about Southern Cameroon. This explains that there is an urgent need now for all the skeptics now to come together, because it is a clear indication that we just need now a common voice. The president and his team and all the supporters from Southern Cameroon have been able to push this struggle to this level. So all the skeptics who were wondering what would be a situation of Southern Cameroon if higher institutions that matters in decision making can pronounce Southern Cameroon and emphasize about dialogue without precondition, and even lambast the so-called Grand Conference in Yaoundé. This is to tell you that they are deeply concerned about the situation of Southern Cameroon, which means that all that deflationary tactics that La République du Cameroon used to use to water down reality, struggle to shut down the truth, has all been unraveled. So we are now having that freedom, thereby calling on all the freedom fighters now to rally behind the interim government under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Samuel Sako Ekome, so that together now we can just take this thing to the final end. The most glaring part about it, as I wrap up here, is the Switzerland talk, which there is continuous pressure upon the people of La République du Cameroon to come on the table. This thing has come out very clearly right to the mouth from the Security Council, Karen Baz, as well as Benjamin. Every institution is emphasizing about that talk. So all the skeptics, all the blackmail, sabotage, disinformation and misinformation, making the people to understand that the Swiss are not willing, has been completely been clarified. And thanks today, the president has reiterated about, has also emphasized about that same point to give a clarity and so to encourage each and every one. So we hope that no one again should be
escaped. Thank you, Comrade Walters. Thank you very much for that succinct summary of the diplomatic gains so far. And we will wrap up. Comrade Yaya, can you hear me?
Yes, I
can. Oh, fantastic. Just, what is your, given everything, the president have said, what is your take home for 2020?
Wow, a lot of hope. But before I go into the details, I think one quality that we saw in this president is the humane side of him. A lot of times we have heard or maybe felt that he's a bit out of touch, but we didn't have that impression today. This is a president who has portrayed that he's in touch with his people. He feels their pain, he understands their agony. I mean, when he talked about school and having that deep understanding, I guess, as a father, having kids who are not going to school, you could see a deep sense of well, I won't say regret. Well, regret in the sense that this shouldn't have happened. Had we not been invaded by the enemy. But on the other hand, it is a worthwhile cause because we want quality education for our kids and not just any haphazard system that has been forced upon us. And also, what we got from this humane side of the president is, when he talked about simple things, well, they seem simple, like people losing their jobs. That to me was very touching. It really tells me that he cares about the sacrifices that each and every Ambazonian puts in this struggle. But then he doesn't leave it at that, as a situation of desperation. He turns that situation and projects the hope, the vision of beautiful Ambazonia, which will be the dream of the entire world, an Ambazonia that will have equal opportunities for everybody, where people will have good quality jobs that can sustain them and their families. So it was just, much has been said about what the president has touched on during this speech by my other panelists. But one thing I wanted to still emphasize on the humane and humble side of this man, I think if we read between the lines, he said at some point that we have learned from the past. And we could see that after the Berlin conference, he said that 70% of what are the resolutions that were met have actually been achieved. And I think that's a big tick. We should really acknowledge and give a hand, especially to our critics out there, that a lot has been improved on. We now have national structures where all the counties are represented. And he did specifically mention that, for example, the treasury, that we have, I think, maybe an 18 to 20 man treasury that is fully represented across the board of Amazonia, and not a one-man show as was previously. And we're trying to build the same structures for the Restoration Council. We have the audit team that had representatives from all the counties, and so is the
Yes,
diplomatic.
thank you, Dr. Yaya. Yes, thank you so much. I mean, I'm sorry to cut you short there, and we are caught up with time. You really break down some of the structural adjustments to better serve the revolution, better serve the demands and the evolution and changes that goes on in the revolution. You have just articulated some of it. And I want to thank everybody who made it to this analysis show today, Comrade Eric Ate, Comrade Walters Fondo, Comrade Comfort Kumfo, and Comrade Yaya. I want to thank all of you. I know you guys were here before I joined, but I would suggest that we will continue maybe at some point this week, because the speech was loaded with so many things, like you said, hope, because that is what it invigorates the fighting spirit in us. And that is what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to inspire us to continue this fight, to understand that there is hope for Amazonia, that Amazonia must be liberated. We just need to put in the energy, the effort, the support, because he concluded that they could not have achieved what we have achieved up to this moment without the support of the people. So he continued to plead with the people to continuously support the interim government. So as we wrap up for now, we will hope to engage the public on this address and in the days ahead. So for now, we would conclude, and would hope all of you have a very happy new year as we move into 2020 with hope, with a victorious, it's going to be a victorious new year. But the work has just begun. The work has just begun. The sacrifice is just have to take another level. Like some used to say, this is the last battle, and we must intensify our efforts, our support on all avenues in the revolution, and including especially our self-defense efforts and initiatives. Thank all of you for watching. Thank you for joining us on ABC Amber TV. We will announce when we will continue on this speech soon, and I will hope you join us once again. Stay tuned. We have a crossover program with Secretary Chris coming immediately after this. God bless and have a happy new year. Bye.
Start a new career as a Linux system administrator with an average salary of $80,000 to $120,000 a year. Dynamic Tech Academy has transformed many lives for the better through our 6-month Linux program. We are so excited to announce that we are adding DevOps course and Red Hat certification at no charge, which will make students more competitive. Over 80% of our students have no prior IT background, yet vast majority of alumni land jobs in 3 to 6 months after they start applying. Our ultimate goal is to reach 100% student employment, so we work with every student until he or she gets a job. Upon successful completion of the course, we will provide resume building, interview preparation, and job placement assistance. With the Linux course, you get more than 300 hours of in-depth training, and you get to learn from experienced instructors. By the end of the program, our students can be Red Hat certified if they choose. Our alumni work in companies, both government and private companies in the USA, Canada, and even Europe. Want to learn more about the program? You can contact us at info@dynamicdmv.com, or you can call us at 240-604-9505, or you can call us at 240-4 423 7865. And you can also visit us at www.dynamictechdmb.com. If you are interested in online classes, please register on our website. That's once again www.dynamictechdmb.com.